You've probably seen it before. Someone suddenly receives a large amount of money selling land at the right time, winning a lawsuit, hitting the lottery, or simply catching a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity only to end up back where they started a few years later, sometimes even worse. This isn't rare. It happens in every country, every class, every generation. And the terrifying truth is this: they didn't fall because they were lazy or unlucky. They fell because they were never taught how to keep money, never taught that money isn't a blessing, it's a test. Some people have held real wealth in their hands, yet lost everything because they weren't prepared for the pressure that money brings. Money doesn't change who we are, it exposes us. The uninformed make bigger mistakes, the insecure spend to fill emotional gaps, and the undisciplined destroy themselves faster. So the real question we start with is, why do people who once touched wealth still end up broke? And what causes them to lose what they once had? What most people don't realize is this: money doesn't solve your problems, it exposes them. Money acts like a magnifying glass, amplifying every habit, every weakness, every part of your character. If you lack discipline, money makes you spend faster. If you lack knowledge, money makes your mistakes more expensive. If you feel empty inside, money pushes you toward buying things that can't actually fix that emptiness. This is why so many people who suddenly come into money eventually lose it. They weren't prepared to meet the stronger version of themselves, the version whose emotions, desires, and impulses are all amplified. Money itself isn't good or bad, it's energy, and that energy flows in whatever direction your character points it. People with a strong foundation use money to build. People without one use money to unknowingly destroy themselves. So money was never a gift. It has always been a test, and very few people pass it simply because they believe having money is enough. When money arrives too quickly, the danger isn't the money itself, it's that the person receiving it hasn't grown enough to handle it. It's like handing the steering wheel of a supercar to someone who just learned to drive. The car isn't the problem. The speed is simply beyond their ability to control. Money works the same way. When it comes before we have the mindset, experience, or discipline to manage it, it magnifies every flaw we already carry. The impulsive become even more reckless. The insecure spend more to hide their insecurities. Those who never learn to manage money become overwhelmed by choices, temptations, and pressure from others. And when the speed of money coming in is faster than the speed at which you learn to manage yourself, the money will rush out of your hands even faster. That's why many people think more money will fix everything, but the truth is the opposite. If the inner foundation isn't strong, money doesn't create stability, it creates chaos. The problem isn't that money is too little or too much, it's that your capacity to handle it doesn't match its speed. One of the biggest reasons people lose money after gaining it is this: they make financial decisions driven by emotion, not by a system. When money first arrives, excitement convinces them that every choice is right, every opportunity is golden, and every invitation is a chance to level up their life. But emotion distorts reality. A purchase made for pleasure becomes a burden. An investment made out of pride becomes a loss, and a split-second decision can burn through years of savings. This is why people who suddenly gain money often spend faster than ever. They buy to impress, to compensate, to soothe insecurities they couldn't fix before. And the more they spend from emotion, the less they see clearly. Vision fades, planning disappears, and risk becomes invisible. Without a system, there are no boundaries. One bad decision triggers another, until eventually the money they were once proud of evaporates simply because they never stopped to ask, does this serve my life or just my emotions in this moment? When emotion takes the wheel, money becomes nothing more than fuel for chaos. And chaos never keeps money. One of the most silent traps that drains money from people's lives is the inability to distinguish between what they need and what they want. When money arrives, everything suddenly looks desirable: a nicer car, a bigger house, luxury items, parties, trips, and especially the approval of others. People tell themselves these are well-deserved rewards, but in reality, most of them are desires disguised as necessities. The problem isn't spending. The problem is spending to fill emotional gaps rather than to improve genuine quality of life. Some people earn a large sum and immediately upgrade everything: their phone, their clothes, their hobbies, their lifestyle. But when life levels up, spending levels up right along with it, and money disappears because wants quietly take the place of needs. When you can't tell the difference between the two, money slips out of your hands softly, almost invisibly, as if it never existed. The painful truth is that many people aren't poor because they can't make money, but because they constantly spend according to their emotions, not their actual needs. And when desire becomes the compass for every financial decision, it doesn't matter how much you earn, you will always return to zero because you're living to satisfy the moment, not to build the future. One of the fastest ways money disappears, especially for people who are new to having it, is the inability to set financial boundaries with others. When you gain money, you don't just change in your own eyes, you change in the eyes of your family, friends, and everyone around you. Suddenly, you become the person who can help, the one people can rely on, the one who should pay, or the one expected to rescue others. From small favors to emergency loan requests, from being pulled into risky business deals to social situations, you feel obligated to cover these, become financial leaks you never notice until it's too late. The danger is this: most of these decisions are made because you genuinely want to help, but because you feel guilty, pressured, or afraid of disappointing someone, you spend to keep peace. You give because refusing feels uncomfortable. But money given out of fear or obligation almost never returns. Without clear principles, you become the shock absorber for everyone else's problems, expectations, and mistakes. And gradually, the weight of other people's needs will drain your finances long before you build anything meaningful for yourself. The truth is, people aren't necessarily malicious, but their needs are endless. And if you don't draw a line, you'll be dragged back to zero, not because you spent on yourself, but because you lived according to what others wanted from you. To keep your money, you must learn to protect it not only from your own impulses, but from the expectations of those around you. What most people never realize is this: money is loyal to no one. It doesn't care how hard you worked, how poor you once were, or how much you think you deserve it. Money stays only with the person who knows how to protect it. Keeping money requires far more than luck. It demands the right mindset, clear principles, and the ability to control yourself in the face of temptations that money itself creates. The clear-headed understand that money is a tool, not a measure of worth. They don't spend to impress, don't overspend to validate themselves, and don't let emotions dictate their finances. They build systems, managing cash flow, allocating savings, maintaining an emergency fund, and investing only in what they understand. Most importantly, they know that money responds to behavior. Disciplined behavior creates stability. Impulsive behavior creates collapse. Meanwhile, those who lack awareness chase emotion, spending when happy, buying when sad, and throwing money at problems they hope will magically disappear. And like water slipping through fingers, money will always escape if you don't have a structure to hold it. In the end, the difference between those who keep money and those who lose it isn't income, it's maturity. Because money doesn't choose size, it simply stays with a person strong enough to make it stay. Money has never changed who people are, it simply makes who they are impossible to hide. If you are responsible, money expands your abilities. If you lack discipline, money magnifies your impulsiveness. If you carry emotional voids, money pushes you to fill them with purchases, distractions, and increasingly expensive escapes that never really help. Money is the strongest catalyst for character. It makes the generous even more giving, the greedy more dangerous, the uninformed more reckless, and the insecure more fragile under pressure. That's why two people can receive the same amount of money but end up with two completely different outcomes. One builds, the other self-destructs. Money is neither good nor bad. It amplifies whatever already lives inside you. And if you don't fix your flaws, no amount of money will save you from them. In fact, it will accelerate your downfall. This is the painful truth. Most people aren't broke because they can't earn, but because they couldn't handle the amplified version of themselves once they had money. The stronger you are internally, the safer your money is externally. The weaker you are inside, the more money turns into a weapon against you. If money can destroy the weak, it can also elevate the strong. The difference lies in how you handle it. To turn money into a launch pad instead of a trap, the first thing you need is a system, not motivation. A simple financial system means knowing how much you earn, how much you spend, and which amount must be protected no matter what happens. You build an emergency fund to secure your future, invest only in what you understand, and set spending boundaries instead of letting emotions decide for you. The second thing you need is discipline, the thing most people avoid, yet the very foundation of financial freedom. Discipline means saying no to purchases made solely for validation, avoiding social obligations that drain your finances, and steering clear of investments that keep you awake at night. Lastly, you must learn to manage yourself before managing money, controlling your emotions, recognizing your weaknesses, and confronting the parts of you capable of sabotaging your financial stability. Money is simply the result of mindset. To keep it, you must rebuild the mindset first. With a clear system, firm discipline, and a stable inner world, money stops being something you fear. Losing it becomes a tool that carries you farther, gives you more options, and supports a life you choose consciously. Not everyone with money is strong, but anyone who becomes strong can keep their money. When we look back at the entire journey, it becomes clear that whether someone keeps money or loses, it has never depended on how much they earn, but on the person they become once they have it. Many people believe wealth automatically brings happiness, safety, or freedom, but the truth is the opposite. If you are chaotic inside, money only makes that chaos louder. If you lack knowledge, money makes your mistakes costlier. If you lack strength, money makes you easier to manipulate. If you lack discipline, money accelerates your downfall. Money saves no one. It cannot heal emotions, fix character, fill inner voice, or replace personal growth. All money does is amplify who you already are. That's why the real deciding factor isn't how much you make, it's who you become in the process of making it. When your mindset is strong, money becomes an ally. When your character is steady, money becomes a tool. But if you ignore the work you need to do on yourself, no amount of money will protect you. It will only make your fall faster and harder. In the end, financial freedom doesn't begin with your wallet, it begins with your mindset. And once you change that, money finds its proper place in your life, not as a force that breaks you, but as a resource that helps you build the life you truly deserve.